wanted to see a few things about sexual harassment of women at workplace based on Prevention, Prohibition and Reversal Act of 2013. Duties of employer. So this main ingredients of the guidelines issued by the Honorable Supreme Court of India, and the guidelines, what is meant actually that sexual harassment is an unwanted sexual determination which is directly or impliedly intended to cause the event. So here the duties of employers do not end with the constituting and that internal compliance committee or the list of duties that the employers must comply under the sexual harassment law. So internal compliance committee in all officers, as we about that now, the government of India has taken so much initiatives that is mandatory for all the institution, organization, or even the hospital. We should have an internal compliance committee, and we should keep the compliant box that is at the reach of the employees, that it should be away from the that CCTV surveillance. And here that most organizations have created the internal compliance committee, and still some of the organization has not yet constituted the internal compliance committee. So it is mandatory to constitute the internal compliance committee if the employees, if the particular organization has at least 10 employees. And this law requires all the organization have more than 10 employees. It is mandatory to have that internal compliance committee. So this anti-sexual harassment policy aligned with the provisions of new law, that is the, the organization should provide a safer working environment. So that is it's the duty of the employer to provide a safe working environment for each and every employee working in the organization. So that here adequate steps toward protecting the interest of women and ensure that none of the employees indulge in the presence of practice of sexual harassment. And this act considers even the transportation provided by the office to be a part of the workplace, and even any incident or harassment happened in the transport also, whatever the policies or the procedures we are doing that in the institution, the same thing to be followed. And have you made changes to the employment contract or to make the employees legally bound for the act? So the Sexual Harassment Act requires the employer to treat any instances of sexual harassment as misconduct under the rules of employment. So misconduct should be specified a part of even they can deduct the wages, or even in some measure if they are noticing the repeated measure, even they can terminate the employee. And they should also include other measures such as termination, or even we can transfer to another location. And even we can, because people should be aware of the internal compliance committee, so even we can organize workshop or other awareness program, and we can even display something. So what are the things it's composed of? So it's the duty of the employer to make awareness program on this internal compliance committee. So this necessary information pertaining to sexual harassment. So always we need an annual report, and for example organization must file the annual report on the public trust. Societies also required to file report to the charity commissioner, and for information about sexual harassment must be included in the annual report. Then so usually that the internal compliance committee report should be submitted at the end of each calendar, that is 31st December. And we should help to initiate legal action against the perpetrator for sexual harassment. So it's a criminal law. So the person involved in the harassment is sometimes what will happen, the person those who are involved in the harassment may not be under the control of employer. They may not be working in the particular organization. So what we can do, so because here such type of incident, the employer may not be having direct control over the employee. So there will be an extremely limited ability to assist the woman through the internal complaints committee mechanism. So here, in such cases, the woman requires the employer to obligate under the law of providence, but we can file the case under FIR in the police station. And we have to provide necessary facilities to the complaint committee for dealing with the sexual harassment instances. So provision of venue, so that is necessary logistical support and phone connections, postal services, then even legal literature we can provide, and the employer must assist the internal complaints committee in securing the attendance of the person and the witness person, and for he could arrange for transportation in appropriate cases. Then consequence of failure to comply with the obligations. So that should be mandatory. As I said earlier, it's a mandatory for all organizations to set up a complaint redressal committee in order to ensure the complaint of the employees are dealt with it properly and suitable action to be taken. And even the employer to assist the employee if he is sexually harassed. So the employee is sexually harassed, so like in the case we can, as we all are aware that the case which has been happened in 1998 in Panvari Devi, the employer should assist the employee in every possible manner. And the duty of the employer to spread the awareness, and if it fails, the employer to fails to constitute the internal complaints committee as per the Sexual Harassment Act, they are liable for a monetary penalty of up to 50,000. And in repeated non-compliance of this provision can result in the punishment being doubled or even cancellation of the license by the government or local authority. So far cases of sexual harassment at workplace reported between 2013 to 2015. So it's happened in the office premises 57, and that registered other places related to work 469, reported in Jawaharlal Nehru University 25, reported in other universities, that is Banaras Hindu University Varanasi, Sam Higginbottom Institute of Agriculture, Technology and Science, Alabama, King George Medical University, Lucknow, and University of Mumbai, Visva Bharati, Santi Niketan, Burko. That is overall its reported cases were 295. Then coming to the Vishaka guidelines. So it was formulated in the year 2013. Vishaka guidelines in Supreme Court 1997, that is in preventive step, duty of the employer is responsible. So the prevention of sexual harassment in the workplaces, to provide a proper resolution settlement. So employer steps should be taken to include a forced prohibitions in standing orders. So the sexual harassment of women at workplace, the Act provides protection against sexual harassment of women at workplace and for prevention and redressal of complaints. And this definition is the purpose includes such unwelcome sexually determined behavior. That is, example, physical contact and advances, a demand or request for sexual favors, sexually colored remarks showing pornography, any other unwelcome physical, verbal, or non-verbal contact of sexual nature. And the sexual harassment of women at workplace, that includes the same thing we have to monitor. And any of these case acts is committed in circumstances under the victim of such conduct, so that the public or private enterprise such conduct can be humiliating and constitute a health and safety problem. So here the search circumstances, among other circumstances, related or connected with any act or behavior of sexual harassment that is implied or explicit promise of preferential treatment in her employment, or any implied or explicit threat of detrimental treatment in her employment, and influence in her working, or creating an intimidating or offensive or hostile working environment, humiliating treatment likely affect these all the things will be affecting the woman's safety. And the workplace, that is workplace in the Vishaka guidelines, is confined to the traditional office or institution or organization or hospital. So here it's Act Section 2, Act Workplace and Unauthorized Sector, goes much further to, that is organization, office or branch, wherever it may be. Compliant mechanism should ensure time-bound treatment compliance. So whether we have to confirm it, whether immediate remedy has been taken. So internal committee or the local committee is required to complete the inquiry within a time period of 90 days maximum. And the compliance committee should be headed by a woman, and not less than half of its members should be women. So further to provide, so the head of the institution or the organization, if it's a woman, we can have her as a headed person. And to prevent the possibility of any undue pressure or influence from the senior level, the compliant committee should involve a third party, that is one person from the non-governmental organization, NGOs, we can add it. And the internal committee shall consist of a presiding officer who shall be a woman employed at a senior level, and there should be two members among the employees preferably committed to the cause of women, and one member among non-governmental organizations. Thank you.